Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of W.A.B. Sports Talk at the desk with Coach Wayne Buckingham, aka Big Buck. Here today, coming live, we have a special guest, Mr. LaVon Kirkland, good friend of mine, Clemson alumni, Pittsburgh Steelers man, coming on the show to talk to us tonight. He's got some great awards that just came up for him, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame and everything. And pleased to have him on the show tonight. How you doing, Mr. LaVon?
Oh man, you call me Mr. LaVon. I mean, I know I'm a couple of years older than you, but Wayne, I'm doing really well. Thanks you so much for asking. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be on your show.
Man, we're glad to have you on here. We know you've been on here a couple of times. You're one of our Clemson legends, man, and came into Clemson back, I can't think it was 80, 80, 85?
No, I came in '87.
Yes. 87, 87. Right. Had a wonderful college career here, man. And I like to just start off, man, and let you just tell a little bit of your story. You ain't got to tell the whole story, but just a little bit of how you got to Clemson and things that went on with you while you was at Clemson.
Yeah, I try to make it very short. Well, I came in, I really didn't get recruited that highly. Clemson was one of the teams that recruited me.
Right.
Them in South Carolina. And, once I visited Clemson and talked to Coach Ford, I was really hooked on Clemson. They did the old put your name on the back of the jersey thing. But I was excited about coming to Clemson. I came there, not highly recruited. I just, and I got redshirted my first year. And I had someone to come in to talk to me, this guy named Barney Farrell.
Right.
And he basically told me he thought I could be one of the best linebackers ever played. And you got to know that I wasn't getting any playing time. I wasn't highly recruited. I was probably, believe it or not, I was probably underweight at the time.
Right.
And I kind of believed him. And I just really worked hard. I enjoyed playing the game, and I'm a country boy, man. I just took it to the max, and the team started noticing me. I got a little bigger, got a little stronger. When I got there, I wasn't really quite developed yet.
Right.
We didn't really lift a lot of weights when I was at Clemson.
Coach Ford didn't have you lifting a lot of weights?
No. Well, I was in high school. I didn't lift a lot of weights. So I was still kind of undersized when I, got there in my freshman year. And my redshirt freshman year, I ended up playing a little bit. Me and John Johnson was kind of switching off. We had a guy named Jesse Hatcher that was one of the permanent starters. John was hurt, but we kind of rotated a little bit that whole year. And I ended up starting the last 3 games, which was the Maryland game where I had a big game, like 13 tackles, interception, and a sack. And, just kind of carry on, man. I just worked hard, enjoyed it, man. I was really fortunate. I didn't get hurt. And I played with some incredible people. And that was my Clemson journey. And, I was just one of those guys who came in from the bottom. And then, I got to my senior year, man. I was highly touted as an All-American and, ended up being drafted in the 38th pick to Pittsburgh.
That's an amazing story, man. But cause I remember when I got in my freshman year and y'all was playing, y'all were some bad boys, man. And then just to hear that you wasn't highly recruited, a lot of people don't understand this. Not highly recruited, came in, wasn't a starter, probably wasn't a 5-star at the time. You know what I'm saying? But ended up having one of the best careers at the professional level that you probably can have. You know what I'm saying? Have it ever dawned on you? Have you ever really thought about that, man?
I always thought that I was going to play pro ball. I was just that night.
I know that this animal was standing behind the bush
because
when I turned on my flashlight and flashed it across the river, there was nothing there.
Can you hear me?
I had the heat signature on the thermal, but there was nothing standing there.
LaVon.
The fact that something can appear on my
LaVon, can you hear me?
And disappear, or that we see lights that are inexplicable, is really hard for me to consolidate when I'm out here because I am hearing and seeing things that I can't explain.
Can you hear me? Where did the volume go?
I'm sort of speechless right now because you did the calls, right?
Sorry about that, y'all. I guess he's having difficulties logging in. What I like to say this is we are sitting here down with live with Mr. LaVon Kirtland, All-American Ring of Honor, Clemson finest linebacker, played for Pittsburgh Steelers, Hall of Famer. Actually, LaVon, this is our weekend here at Clemson. If you're in the Clemson area, this is our weekend here at Clemson for our alumni weekend, where we have bring all the legends back from basketball, men's basketball, women's basketball, men's football, come back, and we have a great weekend here at Clemson. I'm actually over here at the host hotel going live from the conference suites ends here in Clemson with LaVon. If you'd like to come out and be a part of this wonderful event coming up, we start Saturday at 12 o'clock. We have a tailgate party here at the hotel. And Sunday, we have a brunch at Little John. 3 o'clock, we have an autograph signing down at Pine Meadow Smokehouse and Oyster Bar. Finishing off with that night with a draft party at the SO Club. Mr. LaVon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you're back. Okay, so we got Mr. LaVon back with us. I was just explaining to everybody about this weekend, alumni weekend, telling them about that. Starting that Saturday, we got the cookout over here at this hotel for all the alumni. Then that Sunday morning, we got the brunch at Little John. Sunday at 3 o'clock, we got the autograph signing. And at 5 o'clock, we'll be down at the SO Club for the draft party and everything. And I'll finish off that Monday with the golf tournament, help raise money for one of our former football players, Mr. Brian, that played up underneath Bowden. A little bit after you had left, after we had left, young fella woke up, he was paralyzed from the neck down, and going through that in the last couple of years. But we was talking about LaVon, that you wasn't highly recruited coming into Clemson, but you worked hard, man. This is what I see all the time. That you're a young man coming in here working hard, and you get drafted at the 38th pick, go to the Pittsburgh Steelers and blossom, man. It's like you blossom, man. I remember your career. You blossom. You beat up about an extra 75 pounds when you got here?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, pretty much.
75 pounds, man, and came one of the biggest linebackers ever to play in the NFL. You know, and you played for my team, Pittsburgh Steelers, too. You know what I'm saying? That's the best part about it. You know, I've been a Pittsburgh Steelers fan since I was 5 years old. When a good friend of mine, Calvin Sweeney, played. His mom was our pastor's wife at church. That moved in from California. So I've been with him since I was knee-high to a day. I just fell in love with the starter jersey. But I just remember you playing, man, and being a force in the middle, man. Just give us a quick story about, that Pittsburgh life. And I know you had some couple guys that played with you that you were close with that passed away. But what was that experience playing at the Steel Curtain at that time?
Well, we wasn't really the Steel Curtain at the time. We ended up being what they call Blitzburg, because we blitzed a whole lot during that time.
Right.
We ran a 3-4 defense, and we did a lot of zone blitzing.
Right.
Where we didn't really leave our DBs on an island, and we came from all kind of different directions. And it was a treat for me because, I played with some guys at Clemson that were tremendous, like John Johnson, Wayne Simmons, Ashley Shepard, Ed McDaniels, Doug Brewster. I mean, the names go on and on. And, you never know if you're going to ever experience anything like that again.
Right.
So when I go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, they moved me from being an outside linebacker to inside linebacker. I never played a position before, ever in my life. But, I got adjusted to it. I ended up being a starter my second year. But outside linebacker, inside linebacker is a little different. The inside linebacker is more, how can I say this? You have a little bit more responsibility.
Right.
It's more cerebral. It's more of, you have to really use your eyes a little bit more than just your athletic ability. And you have to really be smart. You have to really line people up. And it was something that I wasn't used to doing.
Right.
But that second year, I got accustomed to it. And that same year, we brought in a guy named Kevin Green. We already had Greg Lloyd, and then we brought in, and that same year we brought in a guy named Chad Brown. Now Chad was a rookie, and he really didn't end up starting until maybe the 6th or 7th game of the year.
Right.
And we were all different, but we all brought something great to the table. And we already had a really good defensive line. We had guys like Rod Woodson on the back end, Carnell Lake. And I tell you what, that next year, we really gelled as a unit and we played well. And it was really cool because I was part of a lineage between Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, and some of the other great linebackers that were there. But man, we really did our thing too. We didn't win a Super Bowl like those guys did, but we thought that we brought the spirit of the Pittsburgh Steelers back in those early '90s, early to the early '90s, mid '90s. We were really good, really were. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of defenses that were great, to be a part of guys who were about the same thing, about being excellent. And when you're surrounded by guys like that, it only pushes you to be the very best. And I was fortunate in that way that I got to play with the guys I got to play with at Clemson and then at Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is such a storied franchise, man, that it was a pleasure playing there. It really was.
Right. So I know you brought up Mr. Green. I remember Mr. Green played with you. You played beside him. What's some things you can share about Mr. Green that I know he passed away here lately and everything?
Yeah.
What?
Kevin was a really good friend of mine. We got along almost instantly. He was one of the guys who really encouraged me, just being my second year. And, Kevin already had a great career, before he got to us.
Right.
And he was the guy with just saying, like, he used to call me LK. He's like, LK, man, you got everything. You got everything to be a great linebacker. And it was amazing coming from him because at that point in time, I didn't hear it when I was on that team.
Right.
And we just got along great, man. We used to do practical jokes, man. But the one thing that people probably be surprised because he had this long blonde hair.
Right.
But Kevin was really not like a wild person. He was really more military. Very,
Rescue Raven Ranch. Tonight at 8, and stream last season now on Discovery Plus.
Where there's commitment.
It's your volume. Can you hear me? Your volume down. Levon. Your volume. He's not listening. You hear me?
Walk in or schedule your COVID-19 vaccine with CVS Pharmacy at Target.
Levon, can you hear me? Your volume went down on you. Levon, can you hear me? There you go. Volume went down. What it is? Somebody called you and your volume went down.
Yeah, they did. I'm sorry. Do you want me to answer that question again?
Yeah, answer that question again.
Okay, yeah. Well, Kevin, he was a brethren of mine. And coming from where I'm come from, man, to meet someone like Kevin was amazing. I learned a whole lot from him. I learned how to study film from him. And also, I just knew how to crack up and be prepared. And we just had a lot of fun. And our relationship went beyond after our careers. We still kept in touch very well. I love the guy. I did. And, we would get on the phone or we would text and he would always tell me that he loved me.
Right.
Without, every single time that we would correspond, he would always say that he loved me. And it was, man, Kevin was an amazing man. Like I said before, he was more military than wild. He looked like he was a wild guy. He looked like
he had the long,
kind of had the Hulk Hogan, but he had a Hulk Hogan kind of image. But he was a great family man. Loved his wife, loved his kids, and when I heard the news that he passed away, I was heartbroken. And just realized that, man, the older you get, the more people that are going to be gone from your life, and that you really need to appreciate, the people that are in your lives, and really make it the best you can make it. But yeah, Kevin was my guy. We had a lot of fun, man. I love playing beside him. And one of the funny things was he would send me film of some of our plays. And it was one play in particular that it was kind of a blooper. They ran a reverse. We read the reverse, and he was outside. I was coming on the inside. I thought we had it. And for some reason, he went back inside, and we just collided and bumped into each other, man. And on the film, you see us looking at each other, and you can tell I'm looking at him like, what in the hell are you doing? It was, and man, we laughed so hard about that, man. But yeah, that's what kind of guy he was, man. He made a tremendous coach. I love the guy. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. That's some good stuff, man. Some good stuff. But yeah, I wanted to tell you, man. I got that's one of the reasons that we have this alumni thing that you're coming to this weekend to give back to help. Is just what you said, man. We're getting older, and like I said, you 87, I'm 89. You know what I'm saying? And but I have a lot of your teammates coming back this year.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
We talked to Ashley Shepard. He's coming.
Oh, shit.
Talked to Ed Daniel. He's coming.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey,
man, I'm telling you, man, it was so much fun playing with those guys, man. We fit together so well. And I just remember when Ashley came to Clemson, I was like, holy moly. I mean, he was rocked up. But me and Ed McDaniel, we had we played together in an all-star game, North-South all-star game in South Carolina. It was in Myrtle Beach. And it's the first time, back then, no internet, so you didn't really know guys.
Right.
But the first, when I was like, man, this guy can play. This guy can play. And we end up coming to Clemson together, and I guarantee you, we were probably the two guys that probably got the two last scholarships at Clemson. But we end up being probably at the same time kind of growing up together and end up being very good players together. So,
yeah,
it was cool.
I know Ed very well. I was married to his cousin, so
okay, yeah.
So go back.
Ed was, I'm telling you, man, Ed was a talent. He really was. He was amazing as far as understanding football, and he was so smart. He knew what was going on before it went on, and he could play, he could run. He was probably, to me, Ed McDaniel was probably one of the most underrated athletes at Clemson University.
Right.
Really was.
But y'all had, I know when I got here in '89, man, I think y'all had the #1 defense in the country. We had 3 starting middle linebackers. I mean, from the court. I mean, because y'all had Wayne Simmons, Ashley Shepard, yourself, Ed. Then y'all came off the bench with was Arthur Bussey. Was he here?
Golly, I forgot about Arthur Bussey. We had Arthur, we had Kenzel Jackson, we had a guy named Chuck O'Brien.
Yeah.
The outside linebackers, it was me and Wayne, and on the other side it was John and Shep.
Right.
We were in a situation with Coach West that we were just, all 4 of us were really good. Really, all 4, any one of us could be starters. And we were, the cool thing where we were really unselfish, and we decided that, listen, we're gonna rotate, because Wayne and Ashley deserved to play too, along with me and John. And it was always me and John played like the first 2 series, and then Wayne and Shep played the next, and we kind of rotated that way. Unless somebody was really hot, somebody was having a great game, that person would stay in, and that was basically how we rotated. And a lot of people don't really know that we didn't play a lot. I mean,
played, but you didn't play a lot.
We played, but we didn't have to play a lot of plays.
Right.
So we stayed fresh, but man, we were always getting and people didn't really throw the ball a lot, but we were getting 5 or 6 sacks a year. And you got to realize that we were probably underused. Like we had so much talent that it was hard to have really big golf teams numbers.
Right. So that's good, man. I just remember when I got here, y'all, you know, I watch y'all practice over across on the pond. Yeah, that's back before they got all that new stuff now. That's when you had to go across that little
Right,
pool and get
yeah.
over there on the pond that Coach Ford used to have y'all over there. I always ask this question, man. You gotta give us one great story, a practice story with Coach Ford that pops out in your mind.
Oh wow. You know, Coach Ford, man, a lot of people look at him a certain way, but he was really clever in a lot of ways. I thought he was a great motivator.
Right.
I really did. I thought he could get you to play beyond your levels. And one of the things that we did a lot is the GAs would always had to come up with these, you know, these skits, these creative skits to make us laugh. And
Right.
that was one of the things I thought about Coach Ford was, man, one year we played Florida State. It was, you know, the year before we lost to them on the Punt Rooski. And we were practicing on a Thursday, man, and we were really pumped up. And you see someone riding a horse on the horizon. And you're like, who's riding a horse? Right? Yeah, like, who's riding a horse? And he kept getting closer to the practice field. And it was one of our GAs who recently just died, actually. And he was pretending to be the Seminoles mascot. And he rode on there, man, and we went absolutely crazy. We did. And from that standpoint, I knew we were going to lose to Florida State. And we went down there and we gave it to him. But yeah, Coach Ford was kind of innovative in his ways. You know, he wasn't, you know, everybody kind of sees him as this aw shucks country guy. And that was him. But he also was very creative in the way he motivated us. So that was one thing that I thought he did well. And then also, we were the first ones to wear the orange pants on a road game. We played South Carolina. We ended up beating those guys, I think 45-0. And I just remember we warmed up in the white pants. It was, you know, we call them our business whites as usual.
Right.
We go into the locker room, man, and the orange pants are hanging up in our locker.
Y'all go hamburger. I remember that.
And we went absolutely nuts on the University of South Carolina. So he would do stuff like that, man. That would just be like, wow. He would keep it interesting. He really would.
So yeah, that's my man. So I just want to let you know, Coach Ford will be there this weekend too for the golf game. He's got our par 3. But listen, this is what I got, man. We're gonna take a commercial break. I got my man, Mr. Tim Ray, down below. I hope you see him.
Yeah, I see Tim. Hey, Tim.
We want to come back and Mr. Tim, we want to talk to you about this wonderful thing, this Hall of Fame that you got going on, and go through your career at Clemson with Mr. Tim Ray. Okay, let's take a commercial break here at W.A.B Sports Talk. Welcome back to W.A.B Sports Talk with your host, Wayne Buckingham and Mr. Tim Ray. Our special guest today is Mr. LaVon Curlin, Clemson legend. Glad to have you back with us, Mr. Tim Ray. Where you been for the last 30 minutes?
Well, the last 30 minutes, I was doing an interview on another radio show. About the last 10 days, though, I've been following golf teams. I was working for NBC Sports at the Senior PGA in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and then I went straight from there to Phoenix. Followed the Tigers in the NCAA tournament and got to watch Turk Pettit win the individual national championship, which was just the second Clemson player to do that in history. So, and it was Larry Penley's last tournament. So it was a great experience, great trip.
Yeah, I know we missed you for the last few months. You've been MIA. We knew you was doing. We was working. Had them guys and girls playing good and playing that golf stuff, man. Glad to have you back part of the show today. We got Mr. LaVon Curlin on here with us. He's just putting another notch in his belt, man. We were just talking to him about how he got to Clemson and all that, but we know you got the brain with all the stats. We want to know how this young man be not that highly recruited, come to Clemson, be a pro, and end up being into the Hall of Fame and get. So I want to turn the table over to you where you can do your interview with Mr. Levon.
Well, yeah, it's very fitting, Buck, that you got him today, just a day after it's announced he's on the ballot for the College Football Hall of Fame. And so, just getting on the ballot is a great accomplishment, but very deserving. And I think he's going to have a really good chance of getting in. Now, be honest, the first time you're on, it's tough to get in on the first one, but I think eventually he's going to get in there, and just proud of what he has done and how the way he's represented Clemson. Today, Levon, there was a picture on Twitter. Somebody put the picture of the time we took the picture of the 1990 defense with the live tiger.
Right.
What do you remember about that day?
I remember that you had a bunch of young men that were actually afraid of this tiger. The only person that I knew that wasn't afraid was Wayne Simmons.
Correct.
Wayne Simmons was the only one that was going to hold the tiger. I think they wanted me to do it. I wasn't trying to hear it. I got on the matter of fact, I was on the top row with Briston Buckner. And and I think the tiger, his name was Alex, and I remember Alex just kind of stretched or moved for just 1 second, and everybody scattered.
Except Wayne.
And
Wayne had the leash.
Wayne had the leash.
Thank God for Wayne. He just held still. It's like he had been around tigers before. You know what I remember?
Like the Tiger King.
Yeah.
The rest of us was petrified. But Wayne wasn't scared, and he held it up there, and that was an amazing picture. It really was.
Yeah, it really was. So many people years later thought that we photoshopped the tiger in, but no, he was there actually. So you remember Annabelle Vaughn, now Myers, who's the SID at NC State. Still, I mean, she and I kind of concocted the plan, but it really came about because in 1981 we had a live tiger at Picture Day, but it was a smaller tiger compared to. I mean, Alex was a full-grown.
This is a full-grown
tiger, and so we actually got the tiger because Coach Hatfield lived in Townville, and on his way home, he drove by this house, and there was this guy who had a tiger in a cage. And so one day after we had the number one, we wanted to do something unique for the number one defense, the first number one defense in Clemson history. He actually stopped and went to the guy and asked him if this would be possible. So
that's amazing.
The coach actually is the one who got the tiger. My favorite story, though, from it is you could say he was the smartest guy of the guys who were afraid of the tiger. Was Pierre Wilson. Pierre Wilson actually went into the tiger's cage and shut the door, figuring the tiger couldn't get at him from the outside. But thank goodness that Wayne stayed steady, and we were able to get the pictures.
I just know that I had to beat the rest of the guys. But the funny thing was, after all that, me and Ed McDaniel still had to take a picture with the tiger.
Correct. We took a picture because you guys were both coming back.
Yes.
And we wanted to promote you both as All-Americans. So we figured, man, this will be a cool picture to get of Ed and Levon with this tiger. So, yeah, you stuck around for that, which, you probably thought, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, but if you notice, I got on the tail of the tiger. Ed was on the head, but I think the tiger was kind of, I don't know if he was subdued or whatever, but it was fine. I mean, it was a great picture.
I think the owner had given him a little shot. Now, after all those pictures, we took him up to the Rock, because you might remember the cover of the 1991 press guide was this tiger growling at Howard's Rock, and it worked out. He just did it naturally. I mean, we just went up there to take some pictures with it, and so our photographer Bob Waldrop He stayed right up there with him and took all these pictures, and finally the tiger growled, and it's an awesome picture. Again, people thought it was a picture that we photoshopped, but it was a real a picture. But I will tell you, at the end of that day, Annabelle and I looked at each other like, well, we got through that, but you know what? I don't know that we're ever going to do that again.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. I think. Well, they were the #1 ranked team just a few years back, and they had the fake tiger.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah. No, it was.
Fake tiger.
Yeah, they had a fake tiger, right, Tim?
Well, I mean, no, it was a little tiger. It was a real tiger in 1981. It pictured.
No, I'm talking about what I think Beasley and those guys were the #1 ranked team, and they took a picture in front of a fake tiger. Was that? Am I right?
They had a stuffed tiger.
Well, a Beasley. Which Beasley? Gene Beasley?
Not Gene Beasley. The guy that was #1 draft pick for when he went to Atlanta. What was his name? Vic Beasley.
Vic Beasley. Oh, Vic Beasley. Okay.
I thought
later on.
They were never the #1. We were the only #1 defense. I thought that later on they had the #1 defense.
We did, well. Yes, we did after that. But yeah, that was just a couple of years ago. But for a long time, that was the only. Eight guys off of your defense in 90 went on to play in the NFL. I think most of them started in the NFL at some point or another. So speaking of the NFL, I was going to ask you, what it was like your transition into the Steelers from college.
Well, it's different because I switched positions. We ran a 3-4. Like we ran at Clemson, but I played the outside linebacker part. But when I got to Pittsburgh, they wanted me to play inside linebacker.
Right.
And I never played inside linebacker in my life. So it was different. It took me about really a season to really kind of understand the position. And that was the different thing for me. But I remember that next year, Kevin Green coming in, and we had Greg Lloyd, and then Chad Brown got drafted that year, and we ended up, I still wasn't a starter right away until training camp, and I ended up becoming a starter, taking over for a guy, David Little, who's been there for like 12 years, and that position required a little bit more of me being a leader, calling the calls, making sure people are lined up correctly. And it was so different than what I ever did at Clemson.
Right.
And I just remember Coach Cowher coming up to me and just like, listen, you're going to have to take over the huddle. But we got guys like Greg Lloyd, who was like an alpha male, Kevin Green, Rod Woodson. And I'm in my second year, and I'm in front of the guys calling the huddle. And Coach Cowher's like, you got to take over this huddle. And I'm like, how am I going to do that? So what I did was I just pretended I was a linebacker I wanted to be, and it worked out. It worked out. It did. Chad ended up starting, and we just really meshed together as a defense, really came together. And I thought that what I had with Clemson would never happen, to have that many good players, especially at the same position. And then I go to Pittsburgh, it's the same thing. 4 really good linebackers, and we really worked well together. We had great coaching. Coach Cowher was a tremendous head coach. And that's the thing I really remember, just like how lucky am I to play with great guys. I just like, wow, I really hit the lotto twice, and being with great professionals, it really helped you as a professional, and you really push each other. And I felt like when I was at Clemson, the competition between me and Wayne Simmons was fierce sometimes. It really was. I mean, I remember him getting the interception from 70 yards. The next game, I got an interception. We had we were very competitive, but we worked well together. Me and Wayne Simmons got along great, but we were competitive.
Right.
And it helped me as a player. And then when I got to Pittsburgh, playing with Greg Lloyd, Kevin Green, Chad Brown, those guys kept you ready. It challenged you. That meeting room with Marvin Lewis, it was always challenging. We were always trying to get better. So that's really what I remember from being at Pittsburgh, but I got it from coming from Clemson, being
Right.
able to compete with top-notch guys playing your position. I think it really helped me transition to Pittsburgh, understanding what it's like to compete and that it's not given to you. So
Yeah, when you look back at the players who were on that Pittsburgh defense, I mean, you just mentioned some of them. I mean, you're talking Hall of Famers that you were with. I mean, Woodson, Kevin Green are, among the best at their position
oh yeah.
ever. And they're just, terrific players. And now, so a couple of years in, you had the addition of a Clemson Tiger and Brenson Buckner, and you both ended up taking Pittsburgh to the Super Bowl.
This is Harvard.
I never had as much fun as I had when Brenson Buckner was on the team. I had so much fun because Buck has such a great personality, and he's so funny, and he's so quick-witted. And when he got on the team, and this is what I told guys, because they kept asking me about Brenson. I'm like, yeah, you guys should draft him. He's a good player. But like some of the players were like, well, how does Clemson guy? I was like, man, I said, Buck is a lot of fun. I said, but don't get into verbal battle with him. You're gonna lose. And they were like, what? I'm like, don't try to talk trash with him, because he's the best at it. He can talk trash with the very best. I'm like, if you get into a trash talking contest with him, you're gonna be the loser. And sure enough, it was true. And so nobody ever battled against him. But the one thing that people don't know, they probably realize it now, but Brenson was one of the smartest players I ever played with.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew the defense basically really quickly. It took him no time to understand it. He could make the calls that I was making. He really could. Like you never had to tell Brenson really what to do. He always knew what to do. He knew the game way better than a lot of people that I know. He was already kind of on a coach's level about his second or third year. He really knew the game. And when you talk to him, now he especially knows the game very well. I mean, just brilliant defensive line coach. Really a brilliant. And you didn't really think he was going to be a coach because he was a rebel too. He really was. But I enjoyed playing. Like I tell you before, I enjoyed playing with Brenton. I had probably the most fun playing with Brenton Buckner. We laughed. We talked about how good Clemson was. We would always say that we were forward tough. Every time we talked, we were like, we're forward tough. So it was great playing with a guy that played in the same era that I played with at Clemson, and being able to play with him with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then being able to coach with him as well. So Brenton Buckner was probably one of the smartest players that I've ever encountered.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that he's now coach, because he really knew the game. And then, of course, late in his career, I used to help him with his, personal website. So we talked a lot, and he really knew the game backwards and forwards. So I was really thrilled that he went into coaching, and he's turned it into a very nice career.
Right, no question.
I mean, I know the way the pro game is, and with contracts or whatever, but I was so disappointed, I guess, or when you left Pittsburgh and you went to was it Seattle first and then Philadelphia?
Yeah, it was Seattle then Philly.
There's Seattle then Philly, but that's the way the pro game goes, and you had good seasons there too.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's so different from college. It really is, because I remember because we rotated so much at Clemson, I thought that when I got to the NFL that we would rotate as well, but not quite.
No.
It was like you are a starter and you're going to be on the field the whole time,
Yeah.
and you're not going to switch. You're not ever going to rotate. But you grow up in football or sports, and you're loyal to your team, and you want to kind of live and die by your team, and you don't really realize that at some point you're probably going to go and move on to another team. And that was, I was like, wow, when that happened, I don't think I had a problem that, okay, you got to move on. I thought the problem that I had was I was already in my 9th year. I thought I played well for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, you had.
And I just wanted, just give me some, I didn't like the fact that I had to hear it from a reporter. I would have been fine hearing it from the Rooney family or Coach Cowher or anybody would have said, hey, listen, LeVon, we're moving in another direction. I would have got that because I was like, okay, yeah, that's a business. It's time for me to go to another team. But when you hear it and it leaks out and you hear it from a reporter and you're like, wow, I had no clue. But the funny part was that year before, I had a really good year.
Absolutely.
I had a really good comeback year, was playing really well, felt better than I ever felt as far as health was concerned, was probably in the best shape I ever was. And it was a little surprising because I felt like my play it didn't really translate to me moving on. But, that's just a part of the business. But I thought that I was a unique player. I thought I gave them a lot of great years at a very demanding position. And I left Pittsburgh like, hey, man, you should be proud of what you did.
Absolutely.
And, I went to Seattle and I understood that Seattle, was more so about me being a leader and helping those guys understand how to win. And I thought we did a good job of doing that. And then Philly, for me, was a final run at the Super Bowl. We got really close. And I thought that, man, almost there. And just came up a little short.
But you played with Philly, I guess, with Brian Dawkins.
Yeah, Philly, Brian Dawkins. I was a veteran, but I was a new guy on the team. And I got there. I didn't do training camp or anything with him, but I ended up being a starter that year. I ended up, and I thought I played pretty decently with those guys.
Yeah,
but Brian Dawkins was outstanding. I knew about Brian and I knew what a great player he was, but to see it up close and personal, it was amazing. Brian was, you could just tell he was just, wow, just different, just really intense, good player, very smart player, a lot of fun. Me and Brian, I had a lot of fun playing with Brian. And, that was the one thing that I did learn about playing in the professional league that, I was with Pittsburgh, but it was good to go to Seattle and also Philly to see something a little different. So,
yeah.
And to meet some other guys that I may not have ever met with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So it was really a blessing to go see how someone else did it. So real cool.
Well, I'm the chairman of the Ring of Honor Committee, and we were thrilled to induct you a couple of years ago, and I know that meant a lot to you.
Tim, it meant a great deal to me because, like I don't know if it was around when we were playing, but you
started in '94, so yeah, it was not up there when you were playing.
Yeah, but you see it you see it later on, and it was always like, man, that would be pretty cool. I always thought like, man, it would be pretty cool if that would happen, but I never really had any expectations that it would happen. And when you called me that day, I was just totally shocked.
You kind of stunned. You didn't even talk for a while.
Yeah, and that's kind of hard because I can be a talker. And I was just like. I mean, when you called, I was like, hey, it was so funny. I was like, yeah, hey, Tim, what can I do for you? I thought you were I thought you needed me for some reason. And so I was like, yeah, what can I do for you? And he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that you're the Ring of Honor. And I'm like, and that's when it got real quiet.
Yeah.
And I didn't say a word. I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And I'm thinking like, the Ring of Honor. Is he talking about putting my name on the stadium? And Wayne, so funny that he said, "Oh, hey, congratulations, Levon." I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks, Tim." I I look up just to be sure. I look up the Ring of Honor. I called Tim back, and I'm like, "Tim, you're not playing with me, are you?" And he's like, "No, Levon." You know, Tim, real calm and cool. He's like, "No, Levon, this is true. Congratulations." I'm like, "Okay, wow, thanks, Tim."
Yeah, Buck,
I
Levon's the
didn't want
only
to
one who
call
called
him.
me back to verify what I just told.
I didn't want to call him again, Wayne. So I got. I don't know if you remember. She went to Clemson. She was the first African American homecoming queen.
Yes.
Right.
And we're really good friends. And so I called her, and I was like, "Hey, guess what? I made the Ring of Honor." She knows what the Ring of Honor is. She's like, "Oh my God, that's incredible." I said, "Yeah, but I need for you to call this number, and I want you to make sure that is for real." She's like, "Well, he just called you." I said, "Yeah, we talked like twice, but I want to make sure that it's happening." So I know Tim must have been like, "Levon's an idiot." So Janine called again,
She did.
and I guess she asked Tim, "Was it real?" She called me back, and that's when I knew. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it meant so much to me, man, because you're talking about a guy who was like maybe one or two star, and to go to Clemson and it worked out so well for me, and to be a Ring of Honor, guys, it's really emotional for me. Not only that, because I remember what uh, my father, told me about Clemson. He really liked Clemson, and but he told me that he never thought that one of his sons would go to Clemson. And I would say, like, why not? He said, "Well, son, we couldn't even go to the front door in a lot of establishments."
Right.
And for his name and my mother's name and for Keisha's last name to be up there,
Right.
that's the biggest name. I mean, I appreciate my name, Levon Kirkland, but I know the Kirkland name is on there, and that to me is big.
Right. Right.
Levon, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say something about Keisha. I kind of feel like I knew her because she was such good friends with Jane Robelo.
Oh yeah,
And, I just know she did so much for your career.
yeah. Keisha was tremendous. She was a really great athlete in high school. She went on to run track at Louisville, a straight A student.
I
Buck,
believe it.
that's what I'm surprised with, that she
I
dated me
believe
because she was a
it.
straight A student. But yeah, she really enhanced me a lot. She actually was the determining factor of me going, she was really one to say, go back to college.
Yeah.
Go back to college. And I was like, okay. And she's like, you really need to finish your degree. And she basically like worked it all out. I went back and finished college. I don't know if I would have had the nerves to go back. And she encouraged me to go back. And honestly, Tim, you know this, Keisha was going to be a superstar
Absolutely.
in the media. She was just that good, that poised, and it was kind of funny because she's a chiropractor, and she basically just said, like, you know what? I always wanted to do the weather. I was like, you should. It's like a year later, she's on the weather.
Yeah.
She's never did it ever before, and she's like, yeah, I always wanted to do the weather. And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, do it. I mean, like, bam. Next thing you know, she's on Channel 4.
She's on Channel 4.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it was a time where it was so cool because she was getting a lot of the attention. And people would come up to her all the time, and it was amazing. And she was just an amazing woman. I was very fortunate to being her presence for the 12 years that we were together. I mean, she was a superstar in all kind of ways, man. She was just dynamic. We had a great time together, and it was. I always think that it was tragic what happened, but she told the story, and she was brave enough to share her diagnosis of lung cancer at the time, when she was a non-smoker,
Right.
and she really was brave. I mean, she
was.
fought a really good fight. She really did, and I thank you, Tim, for that, because I really think of Keisha all the time. But I have a daughter
Who looks just like her.
that looks just like her, and in a
Right.
lot of ways, I mean, sometimes I have to take a double take,
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, Kennedy is, she's my sweetheart, and she was great as far as when Keisha went through the whole battle. I thought Keisha did a great job of preparing her for that, and Keisha was just a wonderful woman. I wish that more people would have got to know her. I wish she would have lived longer, because I'm telling you, she probably would have been on CNN somewhere during the weather at some
Right.
point in time. She was
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah. Now I remember, Jane Robo just thought the world of her, and we talked about her all the time. And
Yeah.
she thought she was really going to be a star on television.
Yeah, she was going to be a star. She really was going to be a
Yeah.
star. I mean, and I was so happy for her, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, she's, Tim, I just remember just waking up and she'll be on the news, and it's like, man, she's just so good. It's just,
Yeah.
to
She
see
just had
someone
such a
that
great
good.
personality that came through television.
She had a great personality. She was very friendly, but I always used to tease her because older men would always approach her.
So, man.
all because they would see her on the news, because she would do the weekend news,
Yeah.
and it'd be early in the morning. And I'm telling you, every mature man from 60 on up would approach Keisha and like, oh, I just love you on Channel 4. I just love you. And I'll be in the background just laughing, because I'm like, you're like the old man slayer. Like, every old man loves you. So
Crazy.
That's
Oh
great,
boy.
man. That's
All
great.
right.
Now, what's your daughter doing now?
Actually, she's a really good volleyball player. But Tim, she's going to University of Kentucky is going to have a 3-week art, I guess, an art kind of
Seminar.
and she's going to be there for 3 weeks. She was chosen out of a couple thousand students to be a
Wow,
part
that's
of it.
great.
So she's going to be a part of the drama thing that they're going to have at the University of Kentucky. And that's what she want to do. She just signed with an agency, modeling agency.
Okay.
So that's exciting news. She'll be doing her first photo shoot pretty soon. I think the 13th, I want to say. And for me, it takes me back a little bit, because I'm like, I just remember rolling on the floor with this little girl and roughhousing with her, and now she's this fashion girl. She's just like her mother in that way. Boy, they are fashion divas.
Yeah.
And she's a really good student. She does remind you a lot of Keisha. If you see her, you would be like, wow, that's Keisha.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's doing really well. She's gonna keep sticking with volleyball. She really is. It's funny because the family is more like the athletic side, especially Keisha family. Her sister played basketball at Kentucky. Her brother-in-law played football. Actually, went into the NFL and played a little bit. And then her cousin Russ Yeast, he actually plays with Louisville. He plays football with Louisville.
Oh.
And her cousin Kaya, she runs track for Louisville.
Oh.
So Kennedy is one of those ones. She wants to be different. She's probably the best athlete, but she's more so on the artistic side. So it's kind of funny. But she's a really good little volleyball player. She can play.
That's another thing you and Brenson have in common, because you know Brenson's daughter plays for Oregon State.
Yes, I know. Well, me and Brinson would go back and forth and talk about volleyball, and
Yeah.
he gave me some really great advice about volleyball. But his daughter is wow. She can jump out of the gym. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like holy moly. But yeah, her and Kennedy got that in common, and it was so funny because Denise and Keisha were really, really, really good friends.
Yeah. I bet they were. Well, Buck, I've really enjoyed you. We had some quality guys during your time, Buck, and this is certainly one of them, Mr. Kirkland, and it's been a pleasure to have him. I guess we should give you an opportunity to tell us some of the great things you're doing with the South Carolina Hall of Fame. I know you're getting involved in a lot of community service activities there.
Yeah, we are in a few weeks in July, I think the 21st, we're going to have our Bridge Builders Excellence Award. And what we do is we recognize some of the best student athletes in South Carolina. These kids are very impressive. And we gave our award, our first one last year. We're going to do it again this year. And I have a podcast called The Inside Bliss with LaVon Kirkland. And we interviewed all these kids. We interviewed the 10 finalists. And you will be amazed at what some of these kids are doing, how they're handling their GPA, how they're also really good in sports, and how great they are in the community. And so we wanted to honor that because we felt like there's nobody else in South Carolina who really does that. And I was really adamant about doing that and giving these young people some shine, and putting them out there in the community. Like, look what South Carolina is producing. Not only good football players or good athletes, but we got student athletes that are doing very well. And that's one of the things that the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame is promoting. We're talking about being in the top 10 in 2030. And we do that by educating, empowering, and encouraging our South Carolina students. So we're trying to get into all the high schools and encourage them and really connect them with other programs that are out there to help them to be the very best they can be, Tim.
That's great. We're proud of both of you. Buck's obviously got all kind of great projects going on. One's coming up this weekend, and it's great the things you guys are doing in the community. I'll turn it back to Buck.
We actually, on the Inside Bliss, interviewed Brian Mance.
Oh, did you? Okay, great.
Yeah. And we thought that his story was, you're just like, wow, his story is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like, we got to get this guy, we got to tell his story. And so we told his story, and it was, I mean, his attitude was amazing.
Yeah,
he blew my mind. He did. So I'm looking forward to seeing Brian.
Yeah. Okay, Buck.
Great spirit, man. And we look forward to, hey, Tim, appreciate you being a part of the show today, man. LaVon, appreciate you coming on, sharing a little bit of stuff again. It's always this weekend, man. We got the tailgate Saturday from 12 to 12. Free food, all the alumni guys be there. Then after that Sunday morning, we'll be at Little John for the brunch. I got plenty of time out on that, but at 3 o'clock, be down at Smokehouse Bar and Grill. I don't mess the name up, Tim. What's the Smokehouse? Palmetto Smokehouse and Oyster Bar at 3 o'clock for the autograph signing. If you're around, want to see me, see some of these former legend guys, I can't start naming this. There's a whole bunch of them going to be here. Stop in and get your autographs, take some pictures. Then later on that night, down at the we'll be having a draft party, another for all the alumni. Alumni weekend reunion. Finish it off with a lovely golf tournament at Cross Creek and out in Seneca. Great event for the guys to come back home on, just not for basketball, men, football. We got the women basketball coming back. So we're going to have a nice crowd this weekend and show them this pretty lovely campus. So
looking forward to
you
Buck.
being there, hanging out with us and everything.
Sounds good. We'll see you this weekend.
So we appreciate that, man. All right, see you this weekend, Tim. Take care.